remain in my love. As the Father has loved me, so I also love you. Remain in my love. The words of our Lord Jesus Christ in the Gospel of John. And to my mind, this evening, in the light of these other texts and in the light of that Gospel of John, the good news is that I get to keep learning how to love. I think this remain in my love implies not a one-time expression, but an ongoing practice of laying down my life or giving over my energies on behalf of love, on behalf of the other. There's a line of this William Blake. Some of you might know this poem, William Blake. I grant you, he's kind of an oddball. Okay, he was. But he has two lines in a poem that I heard quoted by Bishop Murnau some years ago. And it captures for me the heart of this good news as I hear it tonight. And the two lines go like this. And we are put on earth a little space that we may learn to bear the beams of love. And we are put on earth a little space that we may learn to bear the beams of love. Now, I guess it's that phrase, the beams of love. Elsewhere in the poem, he's talking about the sun, and the power of the sun to penetrate everything, including human skin. And so maybe learning how to bear the beams of love is to how to bear this intense energy, which in John's Gospel is this abiding love, which has its source in the divine love of the Father. And ultimately that'll be explicated in the tradition as this overflow of love in the divine Trinity. So how do we bear that energy? Or how can I learn to receive love? But it also, beam is something else too. To bear the beams is to bear them to another. How do I learn to bear that beam of light to others? Is that part of my learning? How to love. How to love in all of its manifestations. How to love my friends. How to love my friars. There's one for me, okay? William Blake wasn't the only oddball, okay? Anyway, how to learn, to bear that beam of love to those who are closest to me. To those who are in my family that I'm, at a distance from, geographically and at times emotionally. But I think it also has this bear the beam of love also could refer to the beams of a support structure, or we could even say the beams of the cross. How to bear that, learning how to love means learning how to bear the weight of life. I think of my own mother. I've been thinking about her a lot the last couple of days. My mother's gone for about 5 years now. And she was a woman who grew up, born and raised in a small town in northern Minnesota, Pine City. And her father died when she was 13. She was the oldest. And my heart goes out to not only to the mothers tonight, but to all of you who are the oldest. You talk about bearing a beam. I think older. Anyway, we won't get into that. But anyway, my mother had a lot to bear, and she learned lessons of love that she gave to us as children. Her younger sister, her next youngest sister, died 2 years later. So you know, and I think in all of our families, in our mothers, probably some of the mothers here have borne that. My mother raised us, you know, my brother was born in my older brother was born in 1951. She was raising children in the early 60s to the early 70s, okay, in the United States of America. That was a heavy beam, okay? That was a heavy. History's beam. And today, you mothers, you know, under this huge weight of social transformation, economic stress, and everything else that's pressing us, how do we learn to love under the weight of that? I think without this gospel text, and by the way, that first reading talks about a beam of love that Peter felt that bore through and penetrated walls of division that were so firmly in place that it was scandalous for him to take on into his community a non-Jew. Talk about learning how to love. So it's in our tradition. I learn from people who are good at it. And I've known people who are good at loving and are willing to take that risk. That's the good news for me tonight as well. That as a learner, I have models. But I think beyond that too, and I think this is the hardest piece of this for me to get to, is that in John's Gospel, and what distinguishes really our love as followers of Jesus Christ from other expressions of love in the world, or other ways of thinking about love, is that line that, you know, Jesus says, it wasn't you who chose me. The love doesn't originate in you. Meaning, you know, I'm pointing at myself there as well. He's saying this love originates in the power of the Father, who empowers Jesus to choose us to share that love. So we have to tap into this reservoir of God's love in prayer and in real reflection. How else do we tap into it? Sometimes it's very unexpected. I think at times God helps me in ways that I can't help myself love. And I've had this happen just as recently as the last couple of days. God has given me opportunities to love. Presents to me people who show me how to love in ways that it clicks for me. I go, yeah, that's it. That's what I'm supposed to be learning. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if this has happened to you, but I can, you know, in paying attention to life, and in paying attention in faith, and opening my heart to learn, I'm given opportunities. A couple people connected with me by phone the other day that I had been really wanting to speak to, and I didn't know how to initiate. They called me. You know, little things, but I think it points to that larger reality that God's behind this thing. Our loves are expressions of a love that doesn't originate in us. It originates and it gave birth to this whole created reality. So here's to you mothers. Here's to you mothers who teach us how to bear the beams of love. And here's to you who have been mothers to others without being biological mothers. Believe me, this day is hard for some people I know who want to be mothers and don't have that capacity. And yet their hearts are so charged with the beams of love that they're doing things they're not even aware of as strong, loving women. I heard Murray Bodo, I'll conclude with this. Murray Bodo is this wonderful Franciscan poet. No royalties involved here for me. It's a wonderful collection. And the final, toward the end, he writes a poem about his mother, Polly. And I just want to read the last couple of lines. Yeah, she says, he talks about his mother. He says, you know, you are there behind us, always the one we lean on. though you say so little. Make no fuss of anything we emote of, Daddy and I think when he was an only child. You only stand behind and love us into ourselves, as when I leave home young and you have to deal with Dad. I, blind to your quiet fight, to keep him from telling me how he caved and fled to the hills. Or when you have breast cancer and never tell, not even after you survive, standing as always out of sight of our own self-importance. You behind us strong and silent, as even now, when my words still eclipse you behind them. There is a love behind us, brothers and sisters, that this gospel tells us of, that is the greatest gift we can receive, and bear it to others. And let us renew it at this table tonight, and let us bear it into the world, waiting for that healing, strength, and power. Amen.